Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Smith, Director of the Substitute Teaching Division of STEDI.org. We want to welcome you here today. Just to make sure that we have everyone listening and can hear, would you mind in the chat feature, please type in your first name and what city you're in. We just want to see if we get everybody here. Oh, good. That means my microphone's working. That means that we're, I can see Katie from Yorktown Heights, Tracy from Richmond, Renee from Greenville. Good. Thank you. Appreciate you responding like that. That makes sure that we're broadcasting and people can hear us, and we have some communication. Also online with me is Kelly Stone. Good morning, Kelly.
Hi, everyone. Nice to have you with us.
Good, good. And then Jessica's also on the online with us too. Jessica, you there?
Hello, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but
yes, we can.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
Welcome.
Good. Yeah, Jessica will be answering the chats and the questions. Kelly and I will be going through this webinar with you and talking about things. So again, my name is Jeffrey Smith, Director of STEDI.org, and Kelly Stone is the District Coordinator for STEDI.org, works with school districts and staffing agencies, and she's really the go-to person that for all school districts and organizations to coordinate. Jessica's our trainer. She's our writer, author. She writes a lot of the curriculum and does a lot of training for us. The last webinar we had 2 weeks ago, she was more participant, so Kelly and I will be doing this webinar. So we'll go ahead and begin. Thanks again for being here. Let's see. So the impact, let's talk a little bit about, we covered a little bit of this the last time, 2 weeks ago when we had our training, but, and 2 weeks ago, the webinar was on live training, on-site training. So how to conduct a training locally in a school district. This time we're going to be talking about online training, the convenience of online training and the budget-friendly ways to implement online training. Let's talk a minute about the impact of little or no training. What's happening in districts where there's no training, or there's little training, or no training at all? We see that there's an increase in complaints registered against substitute teachers. We also see an increase in time it takes to process the applicants, meaning if you implement training, we can reduce these things. We can reduce the time that it takes to process new applicants and get them into the classroom, which are very, very good. Now, it does increase type 1 and type 2 errors in hiring. Now, this is, let me explain this. The type 1 error is hiring someone that you shouldn't have hired. And so that's an error. It's a type 1 error, meaning you've done something that maybe shouldn't have been done, hired somebody that shouldn't be in the classroom. Type 2 error is missing someone who should have been hired, but was screened out and wasn't hired. And what you want to do is minimize those errors. You want to minimize hiring people that shouldn't be in the classroom, and you want to minimize passing up good people who do well in the classroom and work well with our students. So those are the type 1 and 2 errors that we can eliminate and reduce by implementing training. Also, with little or no training, it decreases the ability to set expectations and improve performance with your substitute teachers. By training, we say this is what we expect, and we can measure individuals to that expectations. They can also measure themselves. Without setting the expectations, then any warm body will do, which is too bad. And so we want to set expectations. We want to be able to even tell the community, look, we have standards. We want to make sure that the people in the classrooms are well trained and are confident in coming in there. And by doing that, we can show this is what it is, and people will rise to the occasion. If once we set expectations, people will rise to the expectations. Also, little training can reduce student achievement. We have seen in teacher absenteeism that there's an impact on student achievement, as well as with trained substitutes, they can implement the lesson plan left by the permanent teacher and continue the learning. That's a big concern of what's happening when the permanent teacher's out of the classroom. So these are just some of the impacts of little or no training within a district.
I'd like to add too that I have read recently about how students notice the difference in their own learning if they don't have somebody who's prepared to come into the classroom and teach. And there's a lot of students that go to school to learn, and they don't want to just sit there and watch a video just because their permanent teacher isn't there. They want to continue learning.
Very good. Yeah, they do don't want to get behind. They know that when the permanent teacher gets back, they have to catch up, and that's no fun. So they want to continue that learning. Good point, Kelly.
Right.
What does training mean? What we're going to talk about is the skill level of the substitute teacher. What do we want the individual to do? We did quite a bit of research on what should substitute teachers be trained in, and how that should happen as we were writing our curriculum. As you know, we started on campus at Utah State University as a substitute teaching institute, and we did quite a bit of research. We were funded by the U.S. Department of Education to study training nationwide, and so we really did a lot of surveys and work and working with districts and what they train. And these are the 5 skills, the 5 areas that we narrowed it down to. Again, it's the foundation. It's the things that they need to. Number 1 is classroom management. That is the biggest concern among substitute teachers, also administrators, that an individual knows how to manage a class and keep it going. And so 50% of the training should be spent on classroom management, on those strategies to manage student behavior and keep the learning going while the permanent teacher's out of the classroom. So, and then the second is teaching strategies. Kelly mentioned this, that the students want learning, and they really, after you ask them what do they want, they say, oh, we want a free day. And then after you get past that, they say, we really want to learn. And so it's teaching strategies, how to pick up a lesson plan and implement it, and understanding what a lesson plan means. Most of the people that are trained are maybe individuals who have bachelor's degree, not necessarily don't have a teaching degree. And so it's getting them those basic teaching strategies so they know how to pick up a lesson plan and understand it and then be able to implement it. What are the strategies the permanent teachers are using that the substitute teachers need to know so they can understand that and implement it? The third area is being prepared and professional. When we interviewed administrators and asked them what they wanted to train substitutes, they were saying, we want to make sure they understand they need to show up on time, they need to dress appropriately, they need to act professional. These are professionals, and so we want them to be prepared for the assignment and be professional. And so there's a section in the training on being prepared and professional, a very good component of the training. Another area is working with students with special needs. There are a lot of assignments with students with special needs, even special ed assignments, that we want substitute teachers to take. And so many times it's a new experience for them. So we want to make sure they're comfortable working in even with students with special needs, and even in classrooms where it is full of students with special needs. And so, so we want to make sure they're comfortable with that and they understand that. And so there's a section with students with special needs. Sometimes that's the hardest area to fill. And so we want all substitute teachers to be able to work with that. Then the last area, the appropriate use of fill-in activities. When we asked permanent teachers who their favorite substitute was and why, without exception, they said it's Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so because they have a resource kit, a bag of tricks, or something that they could pull up at a moment's notice. And so having that ready has them prepared. And then if they walk in, there are no lesson plans, they can boom. They have something immediately they can implement and start the students in a learning activity. Also, for those students who finish early, what do you do? And so this resource kit or fill-in activities, then you get your best students who are done early, you keep them working with some of those types of things. And so those are the appropriate use of those fill-in activities can go a long ways to help substitute teachers. So those are the areas that are effective training covers. We talked about it last time, how we do that live. through the substitute teacher handbook and how we can do that in a workshop setting. Today, with the online training, these are areas that should be covered. Now, another area of training is orientation. And when we ask districts, mostly, do you offer training? Oh, yes, we do. Kelly, you've had this experience quite a bit where they say, yes, we offer training.
Yeah, we often, I have to say, well, are you just teaching them how to use the subfinder system and what your, local district rules are, or are you actually teaching them classroom management or teaching strategies? So, I always try to point out the difference. But we can include your district-specific information as another module in the online training. So that is something we can make available to the substitutes in your district. If that's something you want to do, please talk with me about that.
That's a good point. One disadvantage of online training is it canned for everybody. But what you're saying is we have the ability to upload district-specific content so they can review that along with the teaching strategies and skills that we're teaching. Then when they come in for either the interview or they come in for an orientation or paperwork, that kind of thing, they've already viewed it. They can sign off that they've understand the district policies that have been presented. And so we can eliminate that, which is a great way to be able to cover that prior to even them picking up an application. Thank you. So the training opportunities, pre-employment, we just talked about this. Post-employment, but pre-classroom. This is usually where on-site training happens. And so they've been employed, but they haven't got in the classroom yet. We offer a live training and then before they get in the classroom. And then their ongoing training, once they're in the classroom, how do we keep them engaged and continue the professional development? Today, we're going to talk about the sub-skills course, which can be used for both pre-employment and post-employment pre-classroom. This online training, we have a number of districts that make it required part of the application process. Even before they can pick up an application, they take the training. And there's some advantages to that, and we'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. But these are some of the areas where training can take place. The steps of a substitute teacher to become employed, probably the first thing an individual will do who is considering is, I may want to be a teacher. I may want to get into this classroom, so maybe I'll start as a substitute teacher. So they're kicking the tires. They're probably looking at your website saying, what information can I find out before I even tell anybody that I'm interested? I want to see what the possibility is to substitute teach. And so they're looking for information. And so they're investigating things. And so districts that place training out there to say, here's some training if you're interested. And then they can take that. And once they take it, it's very confident building. They can say, I can see myself doing that. Because as they go through the training, there's very specific things that they do. It's skill-based, and so we say start the learning immediately. And here's a starter activity to put on the board when the students walk in the classroom. And, I can do that. And those simple strategies can go a long way. They're not tips. They're not suggestions. They are rules. They are, we're saying they're skills that they can practice, just like the skills in skiing since the Olympics are going on. Those are things that we practice and improve all the time. And so these are skills, teaching skills and classroom management skills that they can practice. So they're investigating, they see that they can do it. It's also validating the employment. It's a good thing that I've signed up because I can see that I can do this. It's support and skill building over time. They're just improving. Sometimes they get introduced to it, but then once they're in the classroom, they realize, I know we talked about that, but I want to make sure that I go back and see that. And now I see why it's so important, but I didn't quite understand what they were talking about. So it's supporting ongoing training and then getting the specific help that they need. And these are the people that kind of the areas that we want to focus on to help substitute teachers in the classroom. Does training make a difference? It does. This was a research project we did on self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is one's belief in themselves. on how well do I, and this is on the classroom management construct. So how do I feel in my classroom management ability? Now, before training, they rated themselves, you can see there just by 7.675 in the scale that we were talking about here. After the training, their self-efficacy or their belief in their ability to manage a class increased significantly. And so that was a big deal. So the training didn't introduce them to say that, oh, I'm less able, you know, it enabled them. And that's what we want. We want them to believe more in themselves. And they tend to, research shows that if one tends to believe in themselves more, that they have those abilities, that they actually perform better. And so that's why, without really sending a researcher into a classroom and observe, this is another way to measure their efficacy or how good they are in the classroom. And so you can see their belief in themselves increased quite a little bit. Then even a week after the training, and once they had been in the classroom, it does drop a little bit, but not near, if one does not have a training, that's where they go in the classroom and their bottom really falls out. Many times they walk in without training, they teach one day and they say, they'll never do this again. Or they might last a week and then they say, no, this isn't for me. And so by training prior to entering the classroom goes a long ways, is keeping them and retaining them before we go. So the substitute teacher training is skill level online, we talked about, which improves substitute teacher self-efficacy. Post-training, mentoring helps substitute teachers maintain a high level of self-efficacy. And so, and ongoing, meaning they can have access to their training, they can go back to it, particularly during their first year of teaching, and they can say, I know we covered that in the training, then they go back and review it and say, oh, that's what they meant. I didn't quite understand it then, but now that I'm in the classroom, that makes total sense. So let me talk a little bit about knowing your pool of substitute teachers. This is some research that we found. There was an article written about certified teachers. 62% of certified teachers felt very uncomfortable and unprepared going into the classroom. Now, these people have gone through a teaching program, a teaching preparation program. They've done student teaching, but 62% of them of the certified teachers feel unprepared to go in the classroom. Well, what about our non-certified substitute teachers? Can you imagine, what the percentage of those who've never had anything? And so we need to make sure that they have some training. Well-educated individuals will know better than to put themselves into a situation where they can't manage it. Why would a well-educated individual put themselves in front of 30 students without any ability to manage them or have thought about it? Other than when we went through school, we tried to think back, how did our teacher do it? Well, that's a long way to think back. And so we need to make sure that these substitute teachers have a standard that they can measure themselves by and implement. Now, these next two sentences, 42% of substitute teachers in your district want to continue as a substitute. The research and the surveys that we've done in districts, this is pretty common amongst most districts. Now, another 40% want a permanent position in your district. So in your pool, 80% or 82% of your substitute teaching pool want to continue to work for your school district. And that's an interesting figure, meaning that by investing into them or requiring training, it's not a waste of time. These people want to stay connected with your school district, want to stay teaching in your district, either as a substitute teacher or a permanent teacher. And so by spending and investing in your pool, it's not wasted. They'll be around for quite a while. I'm going pretty fast, I know, but we got anyway, thanks for sticking with us. But I'm glad Jessica's here to answer any questions, and Kelly, feel free to jump in at any time. All right, the SubSkills online training course, which is the most popular course that we offer. And it's an 8 to 10 hour course, depending on how many times an applicant will go through the training course or go through and review the videos and so forth, see them several times. But it's specifically on classroom management, teaching strategies, professionalism. These are the areas that we talked about. And it lasts between 8 to 10 hours at a time. Now, we condensed in, it is probably the most comprehensive course for substitute teachers out on the market today. It will cover more material in 8 hours than others do in 20 hours. It also, with the sub-assessment test that's there, is that assessment, one cannot guess their way through it. Even permanent teachers or certified teachers who've been required by the district to come and take it, they try to guess their way through, and it's not necessarily testing them on their ability as a teacher, it's testing them on the material taught. Often when a teacher has gone through our material, they're kind of upset that they, after having a degree in teaching, have to take the course, but at the end, they always, almost 100% of those certified teachers who've taken the course say, I wish they would have taught us this cleanly and succinctly in college. Where was this when I started my career? And so it's testing on those types of materials that is presented in the material. And so one can't guess their way through it. They have to actually learn the material in order to pass the assessment. We do give them 4 tries in each one of the assessments to get through. And so that's ample time for someone to understand the material and implement. They get a subdiploma, which you as a district can receive to recognize that they've taken and completed. We recommend an 85% passing score. Districts can set that higher or lower. It's up to them what they would like to do with that. But 85% is pretty much standard. What we found that people can't guess their way through. They have to know the material, but yet it's not 100% where it might eliminate that type 2. Remember, those people that we want to make sure they're in the classroom, that we screen out inadvertently. But the training tends to find those that want to be in the classroom. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And again,
and we have great customer service here. So anybody that's encountering any kind of technical issue or doesn't understand something, questions about anything, they can always contact us and we can help them, with whatever issues they have. They don't have to go through the district. They can come right directly to us to get help with whatever they might need.
Yeah, good point. We are here and we do have a number of us who answer the phones and can help with that. We also have district-specific information. We can work with you in uploading district-specific content so that they can see that. Most importantly, if a substitute teacher pays us to take the course, we will guarantee them a job based on being that they will be offered a job as long as their background check passes, that kind of thing. But or we'll refund the money. If they take the course, they go through, everything's fine, but the district didn't offer them a job, we'll be glad to refund their registration fee. And so that's the guarantee that we offer substitute teachers. This is, Kelly, if you want to talk a little bit about this, this is what individual prices for a substitute teacher who would come on, and these are the options that they have.
Right. There's 4 different options. Basic option A is the online training. Everything is online. They study online. They take the course online. They access their diploma online. The basic option B is better sometimes for people that prefer to study out of a book or that want to have that handbook, as a resource down the road. Maybe they don't have as much access to a computer, because then they can do all of their studying in the handbook, but they have the opportunity to still take the tests online and can access their subdiploma online. So that covers those 2 basic options, A and B. Those are both just $39.95. And we do offer discounts if the district is, wanting to pay for it for the substitutes. The premium option puts A and B together. That way they can go ahead and get started online. They don't have to wait for the handbook to arrive. We do send it through priority mail, so it usually takes 2 or 3 days, mail time to get there. But some people want to get right at it. And so if they do option A, they can get started right away online, or if they want that handbook too, they can still do the premium option where they get started online and still have the handbook coming to them. And I can't tell you how many people do option A and then will still call us later and say, boy, I really would like to have that handbook because it's a great resource. So if they do that, we also offer them a discount at that time too. But we, if they want to right there at the beginning to get started with the handbook and online option available together, they have that premium option available. And then the ultimate option is for those overachievers. No, it's for everybody who wants to have some extra training that they can tap into, down the road. I always say to people that are ordering the ultimate training, do the sub skills first, get that basic information in your head and earn that sub diploma, and then maybe wait a few months and then go back and do the advanced training as a refresher training. So you've got advanced special education, advanced classroom management, and advanced teaching strategies. And for just a little bit extra, we, normally those advanced courses cost $19.95 each, but we give them the handbook and the online training and the advanced training all for just $79.95. And I think that includes shipping too. So we try to make it worth it to them to continue their professional development.
Very good. Thank you. Most districts who require the training will say basic option A is what they get. Individuals can choose which ones of these they would like to choose, but that's usually the option that most districts require if they set it as an expectation. This is the handbook. We talked about that the last time. This is what option B is about, and that it's in your handout. We put it here so you'd have it in your handout. Now let me just talk a little bit about, and Kelly, you can talk about these. These are some of the districts, only a few samples of districts where they've put on their website and set it as an expectation prior to employment. And so if you want to take a look at these districts, this is how they've set it. And the advantage here is the district isn't paying for the training, the applicant, the substitute teacher is. And they have found that even though the substitute has to pay for it, it's the first thing that they pay for, and it's the only thing that they get benefit from. They don't get benefit from the fingerprinting, they don't get benefit from the application fee or anything else, or what are the other fees that there is, but this is something that they invest in themselves. And they tend to do this even though they might have the other ones to do, the other fees to pay. This is what really motivates them to continue the process. And it'll help screen right up front those individuals who are just looking for a quick job to get in there between jobs or whatever, and the ones that cost the district the most to process, because you go through all the hiring process, the paperwork, getting it all done. They get in the classroom, they find out it's not for them. It's much harder than they thought. They thought they could just read a book. And well, this sets the expectation up there, and it kind of weeds those out. But those individuals you do want in the classroom, they see themselves because you've showed them exactly what they need to do as a teacher, and they see it as an example in the training course. They learn wording and sentences to use. They learn exactly what they need to do in order to succeed in the classroom. And so it's a motivational, and so it helps attract substitutes, not distract or to discourage people from applying. And there's just a few samples of.
I was going to point out, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to also point out that like Atlanta Public Schools and Fulton County Schools, they actually require the training ahead of time, and they make it part of their application process, even to the point where there's a place on the application where one would upload a copy of their sub-diploma right there on their application.
Well, that's good. And if you want any of this information or these links actually in an email, so you can just click without having to type about, just go ahead and contact Kelly. Her contact information will be on the last slide, and she can send you these links so you can see them as well. So these are districts that have substitute teachers pay for it prior to employment. There are other districts that say, we will give you a raise if you take a $5 a day raise, for example, if you take training. And so instead of just requiring it for employment, but kind of as a reward for taking training, a trained substitute teacher is worth more to a district than a non-trained. And so if you're considering a pay increase anytime soon, tie it with training. And we can give you some sample examples on that and how that can happen. Then you're getting something for the raise, and they are getting something for the effort that they've put out for that. We have found that districts who raise their pay in order to attract more substitute teachers, that hasn't been as effective as they would like to. We've also seen districts when they've lowered their requirements, meaning going from a bachelor's degree to maybe an associate's degree or 90 credit hours, that hasn't increased the number of applicants like they had hoped. We found those districts that tie it with training and offer training, whether they raise their pay and offer training, that's where it's effective. Training tends to be the most common trait of successful recruiting programs. The more we can train, even prior to employment, the more that they will tend to come in. Also, they tend to work more often. I think I just read recently that 50% of the pool is not working on any given month. And if that's the case, we need to increase the frequency of individuals. And often by implementing a mid-year training or requiring them to sign up every year for new training, in order to sign back up, they have to complete some training. That's what some of the advanced courses that we offer. Districts do that, say we want you to take the training in order to, as part of the process of re-upping next year. They tend to work more often, and which is a big deal. You know, instead of increasing just the numbers in your pool, just making them much more active. And again, we just talked about substitutes paying for that. Districts, and there's a district here that does pay for the substitute teachers, and that's good too. Kelly mentioned that there's a discount for districts who do purchase them in bulk for both the sub-skills, which is the basic training, as well as all the advanced courses, the refresher courses that are offered. Some places to start. Kelly, do you want to talk about these?
Yes, we have our excuse me, I'm just all tongue-tied. Our website, STEDI.org, and if you go to STEDI.org/administrators, or just go to STEDI.org and click on the For Administrators button, then you'll get access to a lot of information that we have there available to administrators. I think you'll also see these webinars posted there in case you wanted to go back and go back over any information we covered. If you call me, I'd be happy to talk with you, and we can talk about the different options we have available, the option for you to try it if you want to. I know a lot of human resource directors and sub-managers are very, very busy people and do not always have the time to go over the training themselves, but we can make it available to some of your substitute teachers to go over it and do that review for you. I mean, who better to tell you whether they find it effective or not than your actual substitute teachers, right? And then they're getting trained while they're reviewing it for you too. So I think that's probably the best thing you could do. And I'm happy to talk with you more about that and give you a code you can use to get those people signed up. And we can talk more about that. Don't want to forget that our national conference is coming up. Our Sub Solutions Conference is a thing we've been doing annually now for 20 years? And we will be in Jackson Hole, Wyoming this year. And that's a beautiful place. We do take a little time out to have some fun while we're there, but we also really take some time to discuss all of the issues that face human resources people, when it comes to their substitute teachers, the training, the recruiting, the retention, the things that you need to know about your subs. And you'll get ideas from different people from different districts all throughout the country. We're happy to bring in people, not only people that use our training, but also people that have other solutions for, other issues. So whatever you may want to know about substitute teachers and how you can, do better by them and by your district, in your solutions to subs, please come out and share with us.
And it is the prettiest place in America, in my opinion. Jackson Hole, Wyoming. We're at Jackson Lake Lodge, just at the foot of the Tetons, and it's a gorgeous area. We're just south of Yellowstone. We'll take a field trip up to Yellowstone, and we'll get a lot of work done. But I'm telling you, we will play after hours. We see a lot of beautiful things and see a lot of things that are up there. So that's a great place to come for conference. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. I think we've covered a lot, and I imagine there's going to be a lot of questions, and I really, really hope that all of you will feel free to reach out to me with any questions you have. I'm happy to to talk with you, about whatever you'd like to know. I think I have all the answers. Let's see.
You do.
Give me a call. We'll find out.
All right. Well, thank you. I hope that it helps, and we appreciate your time and attending. This webinar is recorded, and we'll post it. We'll send a link out where you can see that and review that, or have others in your office review it if you'd like. But again, we appreciate your attendance here today, and thank you, and have a good day.
Thanks.